Greetings, Tauntauns. You've intercepted another transmission from the USW Newsdesk, your source for happenings throughout the Star Wars galaxy. After nearly 18 months of anticipation, Star Wars The Force Awakens is now a reality. So go strap yourselves in, because here's where the news begins. Star Wars The Force Awakens had its official U.S. release last night, and the event had more ups and downs than a Tusken Raider's gaffy stick. From the infectious energy in line, to the opening crawl, to the many plot twists in the movie, to the woman sitting behind us, giving her friends the play-by-play on her phone, the Force has indeed awakened. Or awoken, we're not quite sure which. More importantly, while we broadcast live last night immediately before and after the event via Periscope, here's our official USW News spoiler-free review. It's really forcing good. For more in-depth analysis of and reactions to Star Wars The Force Awakens, be sure to subscribe to this channel, our podcast on iTunes, or simply visit us online at unmistakably-starwars.com. Speaking of The Force Awakens, predictions for the film's opening weekend haul are north of $250 million, which would surpass current record holder Jurassic World. Some sources have also predicted the film's domestic run to gross somewhere in the neighborhood of $750 million, or roughly the equivalent of the GDP of Belgium and Switzerland combined. Also hitting theaters this weekend is the sequel no one knew we needed, Alvin and the Chipmunks: The Road Chip. Early signs indicate the film's total gross for its domestic run may approach the $100 million mark, putting it on course to fly just south of the GDP of the Marshall Islands. In related news, tech industry site CNET released the results of a poll in which participants were asked to pick their most desired piece of Star Wars technology. While Luke Skywalker's land speeder was somehow more popular than the lightsaber, it's the fans' number 4 pick that is causing tremors of terror to be felt as far away as the Outer Rim. Beating out both droids and a hyperdrive, the number 4 spot on the list of the most desired Star Wars tech goes to the use of holograms. And while this may seem to be a very likely evolution of our current technology, the thought of a small, bluish image of a wife being able to continually nag her husband from anywhere in the galaxy to take out the trash is nothing short of a great disturbance in the Force, where millions of men are crying out in terror and are suddenly silenced by their wives. Other items making the list include those nimble and fast speeder bikes as previously seen on the Force moon of Endor. No word yet on whether or not these hovering cycles will face the same recall as the currently available hoverboards. In this week's Unmistakably Star Wars Fan Spotlight, we tracked down artist and Comic-Con groupie Kyla LeMasters. Currently attending college in California, LeMasters, who used Jack Vitriano's The Billy Boys as the inspiration behind this piece, describes her work as the blending of two passions. What wasn't clear, however, is if LeMasters was referring to her passions as art and Star Wars, or well-dressed mafioso on the beach and 1950s pinup models sporting Imperial armor. Either way, we're big fans of LeMasters' work. If you know someone whose fandom deserves to be recognized, we want you to tell us about it. Tweet us at unmistakably_SW and use the hashtag USWSpotlight. And now, for real-time weather in the Star Wars galaxy, let's check in with our on-the-spot weather correspondent, Tyler Sharp. Tyler, how's the weather on Dagobah today?
It's foggy.
Thanks, Tyler. That sound means only one thing, Tauntauns. It's time for this week's news from a certain point of view. Earlier this month, 7th grader Colton Southern, a student at junior high school in Rosenberg, Texas, became the focus of a national news event when he apparently arrived at school wearing a Star Wars-themed t-shirt. The shirt, which displayed a drawing of a fake stormtrooper brandishing a fake blaster pointed at no one, apparently violates the school's dress code policy. Principal of George Junior High School, Eric Nicoli, responded to the public backlash, citing, and I quote, "Symbols oriented toward violence are not allowed on school grounds." However, what Mr. Nicoli fails to address here is the fact that the school's mascot, an alligator, is emblazoned on the school's website, its sports team apparel, and the physical education department's clothing line. Alligator-related deaths in the United States have stretched toward nearly 20 innocent victims being violently devoured since the turn of the century. We reached out to ask Mr. Nicoli if he knew which caused greater violence, alligators or drawings of stormtroopers with blasters, but he did not return our phone calls. What Mr. Nicoli did do, however, is continue to affirm the school's position on this matter and doubled down, stating he was taking this opportunity to increase the number of campus security personnel. And while we here at Unmistakably Star Wars certainly are in favor of making schools a safe place, we wonder if there's more to Principal Nicoli's banning of the Star Wars shirt than he may be letting on to. And that's this week's news from a certain point of view. That's also it for this week's news, my little tauntauns. For continued insights and musings, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at UnmistakablySW. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel as well as our podcast in the iTunes Store. You can also interact with us online at unmistakeably.starwars.com. We'll see you back here next week for more news and insights like only we can bring you. Until then, lock the door and hope they don't have blasters.